All right, today we are going to dial the clock way, way back. We're talking about a true OG of the internet, a protocol that was, for a long time, the very backbone of remote computing, telnets. Seriously, just think about that for a second. It's 1969. There are no slick graphical interfaces, no World Wide Web. So how on earth could a researcher in, say, California use a massive, super expensive computer all the way over in Massachusetts? Well, that very question is the whole reason Telnet was born. So let's dive right in. To really get Telnet, you first have to picture the world it came from, a world that was crying out for a way to remote control its most powerful and, frankly, most gigantic machines.
I mean, these early mainframes were beasts. They took up entire rooms and cost an absolute fortune. So the big idea at the time was to create this network, you might have heard of it, the ARPANET, so that all these incredible resources could be shared. But, sharing is one thing. You still had to actually use the machine from your own desk, hundreds of miles away. And that was the big challenge Telnet was designed to crack.
And boy, did it ever succeed. It was dreamed up in '69, right at the beginning of the ARPANET. By '73, it was formally documented, and then in '83, it became an official internet standard. And for the next 15 years or so, well, if you were a system administrator or working with anyone online, you were using Telnet. It wasn't just useful, it was an absolute game changer. So, what was the secret sauce? How did this thing actually work? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the surprisingly clever mechanics that made it all tick. It's actually a pretty simple dance. Your computer, the client, basically goes and knocks on the server's digital door at a very specific address, port 23. The server opens up and asks who's there, asking for your username and password. Once you're in, you just type your commands, they get zipped over to the server does the work, and then, bam, the results appear right back on your screen. It literally felt like you were sitting right in front of that remote machine. Okay, now this was the real genius behind Telnet. It's a thing called the Network Virtual Terminal, or NVT. See, back then, you had tons of different computer systems and none of them really spoke the same language. They all had different ways of handling text. The NVT was the universal translator. It took what you typed on your machine, turned it into a super simple, standardized text format that every system could agree on, and then translated it back on the other end. This was the absolute key. Without the NVT, Telnet just wouldn't have worked across different systems. But for all its brilliance, Telnet was hiding a simple and ultimately a fatal flaw. It was a flaw that nobody really noticed in the small, cozy world of the ARPANET, but it would become a complete disaster once the internet opened up to the public. And there it is. That's the Achilles heel. Every single thing you typed, your commands, your messages, and yes, your username and your password, was sent across the network as plain, readable text. No encryption, no scrambling, nothing. The absolute best way to picture this is the postcard analogy. Using Telnet is like writing your login details on the back of a postcard and dropping it in the mail. Anybody who handles that postcard along its journey can just flip it over and read everything. Now, its modern replacement, SSH, that's like putting your message in a locked metal box. Only the person who has the specific key can open it. See the difference? It's night and day. Now, to be fair to the creators, this wasn't some dumb mistake. In the early days, the ARPANET was basically a small, private club of trusted university researchers. The idea that some malicious hacker would be snooping on the network, it just wasn't really a concern. The world was different. But as soon as the internet exploded and became a public space, this design choice turned into a gaping security hole. So as the internet grew wilder, the need for a secure replacement became crystal clear. And that's what led to the development of the protocol that most of us still use today, the Secure Shell, or SSH. I mean, just looking at this comparison, it's pretty obvious why the world moved on. Yeah, they use different ports, 23 versus 22, but the real story is in the security row. Telnet has none. SSH has strong encryption. Telnet sent a simple password. SSH uses sophisticated public key cryptography. It's no contest. SSH quickly became the industry standard, and Telnet was pushed to the side for very specific niche jobs. So, does that mean Telnet is just a piece of internet history, a forgotten relic? Well, not quite. Its story is actually a super important chapter in how the internet evolved, and it leaves behind a really powerful legacy.
Believe it or not, Telnet is still kicking around. You might find it on a simple router or maybe an IoT gadget on your home network where security isn't a huge issue. It's also still a fantastic tool for network diagnostics, and honestly, it's a great way to teach students the bare bones basics of how network protocols talk to each other.
But really, the biggest thing Telnet leaves us with is this powerful cautionary tale. It taught the entire tech industry a lesson it would never forget. Security isn't just another feature you can bolt on at the end. It has to be part of the foundation from day one. And that kind of leaves us with one final thing to think about. Telnet's fatal flaw was basically invisible until the world around it changed. So it makes you wonder, right? What incredibly popular technology that we all use every single day might have its own unseen flaw, just waiting for the context to change before it becomes a huge problem? Food for thought?